Welcome. Welcome to Wharton Moneyball. Welcome to a full hour of sports analytics here on the Wharton Podcast Network. This is Cade Massey hosting this week's show with the full crew. Adi Wyner is here. Shane Jensen is here. Eric Bradlow is here. We're recording on Tuesday afternoon as we typically do these days. The show will go up on Wednesday. We are going to do a standard format. We're going to have our guest in the first half hour, then roll into open lines in the second. Sometime in the second half hour, we'll roll into open lines. Lots of things to talk about, but in particular, this Super Bowl week, or rather Super Bowl 2 weeks, the conference championships for this past weekend. We know who is on, and that means it's a big betting weekend. We've got a friend in the sports betting space, former guest, frequent guest in our early years in particular, Rufus Peabody, sports bettor extraordinaire, quant of some fame. Rufus, thanks for making time for us. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, Cade, you taught me everything I know, so
I taught you everything you knew when you were like 20. You're like 40 now, so I think I can't claim that anymore.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
you're almost a man. You are.
I am 40.
You are 40. That's right.
I know it's crazy. I don't know where all the time went.
Well, you spent it well. You've done very well. Rufus he went straight from his undergrad into Las Vegas, spent about a year working for LVSC back in the day, and then rolled into his own betting group, really from 1 year out of school. Been doing that full time since then. Rufus is coming to us from Las Vegas, one of the places he spends a fair bit of time. In previous years, especially early on, this would have been a manic week for Rufus. He's kind of famous for his prop bets, Super Bowl prop bets, but his portfolio looks a little different these days, and he assured me he had capacity to do the show this week despite that. Rufus, we want to catch up with you in general. The whole crew enjoys time with you. Lots of things we could ask you about, but the thing we're most interested in hearing from you on is what's going on in the sports betting world with these prediction markets. People have been talking about it, especially over the last year. Kalshi, Polymarket, the two big leaders, burst into this space, kind of wrangle their way around state regulations that don't legalize sports betting in like California and Texas. They've blown up. They're being valued at billions of dollars themselves. Of course, sports betting is massive. FanDuel and DraftKings, these companies are market caps are like $15 billion, $30 billion in the case of FanDuel. So massive market. We need to understand a little bit from you about what's going on here. So, why is prediction markets advantageous from a bettor's perspective in particular? Let me just say one last thing. Rufus has been an evangelist on the side of the bettor for years. His cause is, better markets, better rules, better access, fair play in some sense for sports bettors. And I think that's one of the reasons he likes prediction markets. But let's hear from you, Rufus.
Well, first off, Cade, it's predicting. It's sports predicting, not sports betting. I think we should get that straight.
Okay.
Very, very different.
So different.
Yeah. But as you alluded to, I do think one really good thing about prediction markets is that they are markets. There's a counterparty. In the case of Kalshi, it's anonymous. That nobody can sit. The counterparty can't see that they're trading against you, and there's no cap to how much you can get down. Well, the cap is the market liquidity, and so with sports books like FanDuel and DraftKings limiting sharper people, it becomes very difficult to be able to get down. So that's a big advantage. The other thing is you're going to, in some cases, have tighter margins, especially if you're making markets rather than taking. The fee structure, the fee structure at Kalshi right now is actually set up in a way that isn't super advantageous for taking. You're basically paying at a 50 cent, it line at 50 cents, you're paying like 1.44%. But on top of the bid-ask spread, so if something was trading like 50, 51, you take it at 51, that's 52.44%. That's a little worse than -1, or sorry, you take it at 51. Yeah, it's a little bit worse than -110 there. But so in general, it's not super price advantageous for a recreational bettor. And especially call sheet with a lot of people are able to bet through Robinhood. They have a distribution through Robinhood and other brokers, and I believe Robinhood also takes a fee. So that makes it really,
on
really
top of
not.
call sheet, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
But overall, I would say for somebody like me who, like, let's say there's a game, I make it 52%. I'm never going to be betting that at a sports book. But if I can sort of make a price at 50 cents or 49 cents, I suddenly have opened up a door to a lot more games I can bet on.
Does somebody see, since Rufus, I don't use that site, does somebody see the size of the, let's call it ask that you're putting out there? Because one could imagine that if a sharp is putting $1 million out there, I'll just use some big, massive number, then someone might say, more or less likely to take that bet. So how do you think about that from how you structure your play on prediction sites like this?
That is a great point and a great question, Eric, and it is something that everybody can see. So you can't see, you can see that there's 3 million shares bid at 51 cents on some game. You can't see that it's one person that bid 3 million, exactly. But so if like something like the Super Bowl money line, I don't think you have to worry about that at all. It's going to be 1 cent wide and with massive volume on either side. The problem there is just getting your offer taken because you're going to be so far back in the queue. But it is definitely a concern, and we ran into this at some point, especially with some of these other sweepstakes sites we were doing predictions on. Like, for example, Novig, that's a prediction market as well.
And say more about what a sweepstakes site.
Sweepstakes, technically you're not betting money, you're depositing money, and you get like not DraftKings, you get like Novig bucks or something like that. I don't know what it's called, but you're betting those things, which can be redeemable 1-to-1 for dollars at the end. So it's the way around
their scheme, actually.
Yeah. It's a lot of states are closing this sweepstakes loophole though now.
Okay.
But there was a market. There might be a market trading at maybe minus 110 on each side or something like that with $500. And if you put up $10,000, the first time, it works out okay. But then afterwards, people, or I shouldn't say the first time, but I think for a little while, people were able to get good fills that way. Let's say, maybe I'll take the minus 110. I'll offer a plus 110 to somebody else, right? And they can go arb that with FanDuel or DraftKings maybe. But if you put up a big enough order, someone's like, oh, this is clearly somebody sharp, and you're going to blow up the market. People are, right? It's, I might get a little bit of fill, but I'm not going to get enough fill to justify blowing up the market like that. But I will say prediction markets, like one reason I'm enjoying them so much is because it is a different game, and you do need to like the game isn't just clicking a bet in. There are market dynamics. It's understanding the order book. It's trying to put a position you think is going to get filled without tipping people off, like iceberg orders, right? Like we have things that'll automatically re-trigger a new order if we'll have an order. So like, but then, which is what you need in more illiquid markets. But you also don't want to go so small that other people join you and then suddenly you lose queue priority and can't get down as much. So there's, I can talk about this for hours.
But this is the kind of thing that you used to never. You were a price maker essentially. You were a model builder for years, and this is more like the trading aspect of it. And there are some people like your good buddy whose name escapes me at the moment, who just makes a living, like a very good living, just doing technical trading stuff in the traditional sports betting markets. And those are very different approaches. But with the prediction markets, it feels like you're moving a little bit more towards being intrigued by the technical aspects, the trading aspects of the prediction market.
Oh, I'm very intrigued by it. It's so fun. Like, you can just explore these markets and learn something new every single day. Like, I've spent a lot of time trying to create a flow chart to understand the logic of some of these bots I'm up against and be like, I can, if I can predict exactly what they're going to do. You can generally kind of figure out, push up buttons and figure out like a weakness, because every bot has a weakness. Jelko, who's the most famous, well, not most famous, but the most successful sports bettor the most successful bettor in general, I think, in the history of the world. He says that the best trader will always be better than the best bot. I mean, the goal is every bot has a weakness. And
because they're too rigid, because they're too predictable, because it is algorithmic.
There's logic. I mean, they're trying to be human. You're trying to program in all your intuition, understanding markets perfectly. And inevitably there's cases that come up that you haven't encountered before, and a bot is going to behave in a very predictable manner. I think the best bots actually have some random
noise in. Yeah,
there's like a GTO bot, right? Some of the time it's going to jump the order when it should, sometimes it's going to join.
You would think so, right?
You put up 500 shares and it gets filled. Does it replenish, right? Like maybe it does 95% of the time when when you normally would, right? But you don't want to, you don't want to be too predictable. And honestly, it's the same thing for a sports book. I think most sportsbook auto movers are too predictable. If I bet into this line, I know they're going to move 2 points off of me. That's really good information to have. But it also knowing that allows me to manipulate, or not manipulate, but like to move a line a little bit if I want to.
Sure. Rufus, tell us something about your sense of the dynamics with the prediction markets coming in. What percentage of your business do you send to prediction markets now versus traditional outlets? And what's your sense of other sharp bettors? Is like all the sharp money moved? What fraction of the sharp money? It's an absurd question, but what's your sense?
I think it's still a small percentage for most people, I would say, relatively. I mean, I guess to give you some perspective, we've done in the last 4 months or so, I think something like 165, 170 million contracts on Kalshi. But the other thing with Kalshi is it's less predictable. So each contract's to win $1. It's less predictable though. So there's some games where we will get very big fills on things and others we won't. And so something like the conference championship games, I end up with positions across a wide range of outcomes, like alternate spreads, totals, some prop stuff too. And I can't predict exactly what it's going to come in on. And I have to have, I should say we, because it's me and my team, we have our system set in place to have some positional limits, but it gets kind of difficult too when you have all these sort of correlated things. If I get filled a lot on Seattle minus 14.5, getting the Rams minus 14.5 that doesn't really offset it that much, right? But so there's all these, so there's, I'm not answering your question here though. I would say it's,
no. One thing you're saying is that it's less than I might have thought. The way you talk about the benefits and the value, you might think that you put all your business there, but you're saying there's still limits to what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if we want to fill $50,000 on a college basketball side, like we're still not generally doing that on a prediction market. It's, we don't have the certainty we're going to get down that much. Like there's certain markets, for example, like the conference championship games and NFL games, where you can get tremendous amounts of volume down very easily, but others where you can't. Most of these college basketball games, like there's some that trade like $800 pregame total, like across all, like spread, total, money line. If it's like Drexel against Loyola or something.
Yeah. Okay. Rufus, what have been the sports books' response to this? I know that DraftKings and FanDuel now are starting doing prediction markets of some kind, but they have been the subject of withering criticism from people like yourselves. Are they learning? Are they adapting in any way? Or are they just going to play the same game and keep on doing their typical stuff on the sportsbook side?
Well, I think that they see this as a risk, an existential risk, and probably rightfully so. And they do have their own sports prediction markets, I guess, of some sort. Like I know DraftKings bets started, and we looked into that. To be honest, I'm not convinced that I'm not convinced that it's actually a legit prediction market. I feel like it may just be DraftKings calling it that. Like part of me, the cynic in me says, right, because I don't think it's an open. I don't think it's like it's certainly not an open API, and I don't think people can make on it. The cynic in me says DraftKings is just doing this to try to like bring down prediction markets so that they, in general, so that they go back to having their little monopoly. But
Interesting. Okay. What does the industry think is going to happen with prediction markets? I know that it's turning in, there's a regulatory question across states and even now federal government, but there's also, it kind of becomes a political question. Do people have senses of which way it's going to go?
Well, I think the consensus among the sort of sharp betting community is that the next 3 years are probably prediction markets are a fairly safe bet, especially given the amount of venture capital that's flowed into this, and given the fact that Trump Jr. is on the board of both Kalshi and Polymarket. It seems more than likely that unless the Supreme Court takes this up, that during the Trump administration, prediction markets are probably pretty safe. After that, kind of all bets are off. So I think a lot of people were kind of focused on that sort of time frame.
All right. Well, Adi, jump in, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Eric, I saw that. Let me just Adi first.
No, Adi, I've already asked a question. Adi, you go and then I'll go after you.
No, I'm just trying to get a lay of the land here. So you're moving heavily into the prediction market. You never really bet in the FanDuel area because they limit you. Do you do sports bettings more still in Vegas? Is that where things are shaking out for big bettors?
We sports bet out anywhere and everywhere, kind of. It's like it's this whole ecosystem, Adi, where there are people that are movers that have operations that get accounts and can, in essence, get like glorified middlemen, right? But like brokers, if you will, that exist. We have our own accounts at various places. There's the exchanges. We have people in Europe. We wish we had more connections in Asia, to be honest, because that's, if you like China, that's where you really want to be if you want to bet a lot of money. But it's honestly, it's a big logistical mess. Like, I don't know how else to.
But that's no different than it has been. I mean, my sense of you used to be in a group of four people, and two of you guys were kind of the number guys, and two of the guys were more or less getting money down. Was that the right way to think about it? And that was kind of in traditional sports betting world. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of the work has always been getting money down, and it's just getting more and more complicated. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, and it's because it's very decentralized. We use a lot of different people to help get us accounts to get down, basically.
Bradlow.
Yeah, so let me ask you, so just building off something you said earlier, so since I'm Wharton's vice dean of AI and analytics, I might as well ask you an AI question. If I build an epsilon greedy reinforcement learning algorithm and ingest a lot of this data, am I going to start making some? Well, I'm going to choose an algorithm that understands that if I make a bet today, there's some immediate payoff, but if I make a bet today, it's also potentially going to change the state of the world. If I, for example, could move the line, it could move people's perceptions of me. And so that's the way reinforcement learning algorithms work, meaning there's an immediate payoff that I win this bet or not. Then it changes the future state of the world. And the epsilon greedy is what you said before, which is I don't always necessarily choose the one that maximizes things. Sometimes I want to play a little randomness in there, because randomness can have some benefits. So have you seen in your world, are people applying, because now it's all the rage. If I was going to serve Rufus Peabody a display ad, or if I was going to show you a price and I was a big tech firm, I would probably ingest a huge amount of data and optimize this using a standard computer science reinforcement learning algorithm. So I'm just wondering, has that made its way as far as you know? And the answer could be you don't know, into the betting worlds.
In what sense? In terms of modeling or in terms of executing bets?
Well, someone trading off of that, more on the quant side. Like it's telling you, it's making some AI-based recommendation of bets based on maximizing this objective function, which is some blend of making money today and putting you in a better place tomorrow. I'm just wondering, because this sounds to me like a very standard reinforcement learning problem, but I'm just wondering if, like, there's a ton of computer scientists just applying this stuff to data that they can scrape off these sites.
So in terms of like modeling actual events, like, you know, I think at some point, like, well, I'm not sure how much the future would be affected by how you model the event today. I think that, I mean, I think there's a lot of really smart computer science people looking at this stuff in general, and especially the trading dynamics. I think that's where this is most interesting, because how you actually go about like trading, like, because you have counterparties, and let's say some counterparty has a weakness. If you exploit them like for everything right now, they're going to wise up to it probably. But if you don't, you just take little bitty pieces and somebody else realizes this and then figures out the same weakness and then goes after them big, then you're like, well, I just left a bunch of money on the table. So, I mean, I personally, I am not smart enough to understand how all this AI stuff works that you're talking about, the reinforcement learning stuff. But it's, I mean, it's such a, like everything is changing so quickly, and it's the kind of thing that I think is inherently very difficult to predict, because you don't know. I mean, the market participants are changing, right? Like you can build something and then this new company, you know, Jane Street launches, you know, market making on Kalshi or something, and maybe it changes things, right? Or I mean, look, things are, I think we think of changes as happening more kind of smoothly, but in my sports betting career, I've realized that things kind of happen sometimes very suddenly. Like I thought I had this great model to win betting second halves in college football and the NFL, and I did for 5 years. And then one year, like I suddenly wasn't winning, and basically was just break even, and I wasn't finding much value anymore. It's like the market had suddenly got more efficient, and it turns out that the guy setting the opening price at BetChris, who the previous 5 years had retired, or been told to step down, and somebody new had come on who actually looked at the live lines before he posted the second F line, and there were a lot of people out there that were holding the weak openers that they had posted in place so that other books copied, and then like people could get down, and there was an opportunity. But suddenly sharper openers, it just happened just like that. Suddenly the opportunity was gone, and I kind of had no idea it was such a precarious, like it was such, like my edges were so fragile in that way.
Right. Adi.
I guess I'll ask a question of a comment. I'll start with a comment because I like what you just said. I do with my sports and gaming analytics class. An example, I look at old NFL lines going back like 65 years, and I show that in every decade, betting heavily on the big home dog is a very profitable bet. And then all of a sudden it's not. And I get them all to bet on whether they should continue. That everyone's like, oh my God, yeah, it's great. How come we're not doing this? It just disappears one day, and I have no idea why. You might actually be able to tell me why, but it just is gone. So that's my comment. My question is, I guess sort of related to what Eric had to say. When you're looking for edges, I can imagine there's two directions. One is to just build better models and have better prices and know the probabilities better and find mismatches and buy them. The other would be to kind of look at just in general at the behaviors of the markets and find out if there's anything in the betting, the demand structure, the way, and this is kind of what Eric was talking about, where you can find bets not by studying, say, football or baseball, but by studying the market and figuring out if there's advantages. Because I think that the question is, Eric has, is about that. And you're like, how is reinforcement going to learn about football? You know, which it's not, by the way.
Correct.
There's no effort to do that. Doing something else. And I imagine, I don't know these markets well, there's probably opportunities in both areas, but how about in the way the bets are structured?
I mean, I think that's the whole, I mean, so we're building automated market making stuff, and this is what I've spent the last like 4 or 5 months like primarily doing, aside from my normal, I still have to run my golf model every week, run the Massey Peabody ratings, etc. But the whole idea of understanding the market dynamics, understanding like how the market moves, and I mean, I trying to trade and get two-way action. And what I've learned is that there's a lot of bots out there, and by bots I mean automated market makers that other people are have created, that don't know anything about the market, like the sports betting market as a whole, and are just trading based on the trades of other, or the orders put up by other market participants. And I've found some that are very weak at this because they have nothing to anchor to. In some wider markets, they can be pushed to give you a really good price. There's bots that literally, in illiquid markets, let's say something is trading, maybe it's like a no touchdown market. It's trading like 82-cent bid, 97-cent ask. If I put up 85, they'll put up 86. So I put up 87, they'll put up 88. If I put up, 93, they'll put up 94. Right? I mean, there's some bots that are just like infuriating in certain ways, and so the ones that are infuriating, you kind of want to teach them a lesson so they stop. So they,
But I guess just to kind of comment on this, I feel like Adi maybe brought up that like there's really two dimensions here. There's the predictability of an event, and then there's the rationality of behavior around that event. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of feel like, I guess, yeah. So Adi was talking about like you can build better and better models for finding out which events are truly like unpredictable versus not, or getting an edge. But it's like, again, without even a comment on how predictable the actual event is, are there certain behaviors, like either bots or people exhibit, that kind of like are arbitrageable or whatever? Like it's kind of in the rationality of betting behavior, whether it needs to be automated or human.
Okay, no, but like,
no, it was more of a comment.
I think one of the things, Rufus,
for me at least, it increased my insight to kind of have it on these two different dimensions.
I will say you're right. Like, so as Cade said, like I've spent most of my career building predictive models and being less focused on the actual trading, and I've had partners doing that, but that's more logistics than anything else. It's not like, we understand market dynamics, but the market, like in general, is going to move towards our price, and we want to get down as early as we can where we can still get enough money down, right? And prediction markets are very different. There is it's a whole nother game you're playing. Not trying to tip your hand. Like let's say I want to bet, and actually putting up orders at prices that you don't even think are good, because if you know you can get two-way fill, you can effectively get a better price that way. So let's say the most I want on a particular event is 200,000 contracts. And let's say I price this event at 60%, 60 cents. I could get 200,000 contracts at 55 cents, and that's a great bet. But what if I could get 1 million at 55 cents and then sell 800,000 at 57? That's way better, right? And so a lot of it is like predicting where the order flow is going to come from. And like, I made up this word, fill velocity, where you're kind of like, it's my idea of like trying to figure out, and I haven't actually built a model to do this, but it's fascinating to me because I don't think one can do this without AI, by the way. But basically, given how quickly something's been filling, what the top, how deep the queue is, how many contracts are at the sort of top ask price. So, and like trying to figure out what the likelihood I get filled in, a certain amount of time is. But then, you can have this and then something changes. The market as a whole moves. And so it's, the way Kalshi is set up with 1 cent tick sizes, is makes it a very different game because it is so Q position or Q priority is so important. So you really have to sort of like think ahead and try to like if I want to get filled on both sides of something, and where one side might not be isn't positive EV for me, but overall I think I can get a better price that way. Like I have to put that order up before I even get filled for the first, the side I actually want, right? And so, I mean, there's some games, but there's nothing more satisfying to me than some game where I was able to like, take one side at 85 cents and the other side at like 12 cents. It's just even though it's not those aren't the biggest EV trades I'll make. There's something satisfying about getting filled both ways. And especially if I have something up and I literally see the action coming in on both sides, I'm kind of like, it's basically what a sports book is, trying to do.
Are you saying you're happy to get arbitrages, but they're not really that much profitable because the gap is tiny?
Right. I mean, they can be quite profitable, and the gaps, aren't right. The gaps are, you won't see a market sitting there with like a, 90% overround or something like that most of the time. But normally it's going to add up to like 98 or 99 cents.
Rufus, one of the things I think I'm hearing from you is that you, and I think maybe I've heard from this other places, is that the combination of understanding fundamental value and understanding market mechanisms and market dynamics, that combination is especially powerful.
I think that combination is what sets us apart. Because I think a lot of just market makers don't have something to anchor to, or they're anchoring to the market, the sports betting market as a whole. But the sports betting market as a whole is also oftentimes like, well, there are large moves sometimes, and there's times when it's more fragile than others. And so, somebody can be like, oh, the market's -2.5. Like, I'm very happy to just collect, to give people big bets. If I'm getting 47 cents on the dollar, basically, if I'm getting the +110 or +112, but that market might, not actually be the most efficient thing at the moment, especially if there's more volume on Kalshi. I think that's the bigger thing. I've seen this multiple occasions where I'll get hit, and then after that, somebody will hit the sports books that the on-screen sports books, and basically the sports betting market, DraftKings, FanDuel, Pinnacle, all those books will move afterwards. Because normally you think, like, the thing is, most market makers are sort of using the market, the sports betting market as a whole, as this sort of sense of truth, but that's their sort of golden, or their North Star, I guess. But I mean, it's interesting to see how it'll keep changing, because I think a lot of, what makes something efficient, right? Price discovery. Where is there more price discovery being done? In some cases it's on Kalshi.
Right, for sure. Okay, Eric has a question, but Eric, we need to wind this down pretty quickly. So what do you got?
I was going to ask one last question. Like, how complicated can bets be, in the sense of, is it ever like, the way we're going to make money on this, let's call it event, is to make 17 different bets, like 3 of them on FanDuel, 4 of them contracts on Kalshi, 6 of them through this, or that's just overcomplicating things? It's never, I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't do that, but is that just not ever done?
I mean, it sounds like it's overcomplicating a little bit, but I think it all depends on price. If you can get the best price on FanDuel, then take the FanDuel. If you can get the best price on Kalshi, take the Kalshi.
Mm-hmm. This is a lesson you hear from sharps again and again and again. It's like, price shop. You need information, go to the places where the prices are best. That's going to be the quickest way to get yourself in an advantageous position. Mm-hmm. Rufus, thanks for all of that. Phenomenal, very dynamic moment in that whole world. Before you go, though, this thing I've said about you for years is fun to say. I say you're the world's best golf bettor. And it's fun because it's a ridiculous thing to say, but it also might be true. And so before you go, give us something on golf. Scotty Scheffler wins
His
his
first.
20th PGA title this weekend. First, I think that's the first
Second.
event of the year or whatever. Scotty Scheffler.
It was his first event of the year, but not
not the overall. Okay. Give us something on golf. Eric probably has some question about golf. Can you, I know sometimes you're like, I'm not even paying attention to Scotty Scheffler. I'm just running my model and betting, the 79th most likely guy because the numbers are right. Do you have anything to say about Scotty Scheffler?
I mean, I think if you look at his last, 2-3 years, I mean, it's right up there with, it is close to peak Tiger. It really is. I mean, Tiger sustained it for a decade. But he really is on another level. And I think it's kind of surprising because like Tiger looked so athletic and his swing looks so perfect. And Scheffler looks like he's about to fall down half the time. And he doesn't really look like the athlete Tiger does, and it's not classically beautiful, but it's, he is, what is it? What do they say? Face to path impact or path to face impact? I don't know. I mean, he's able to consistently do it, and his distance control is just on another level. And I think that's something that has separated him more than anything else. Is his distance control with his irons is so much better than any other player on tour.
Give us a sense in your golf modeling. Like, what's the cutting edge for you right now? Like, what are you trying to do in your golf model right now to make it better? Give us a sense of what the frontier is.
Well, the frontier is doing things that other people aren't doing, Cade, and other people haven't even thought about doing. And so if I actually talk about it, then it becomes not as valuable.
Give us something you did a year ago that was on the frontier and now is no longer on the frontier. What's an example of something you did you thought maybe nobody else was doing, even 5 years ago?
Well, I mean, there's so many interesting things I want to talk about here, and I would if this was private. But I would say, look, I think it's just asking interesting questions and trying to quantify more nuanced elements of skill.
Okay. So that's actually informative that you're talking about going pretty obscure places to find edges, essentially, because all the basics are baked in. Does it have to be baked on top of an already very sound structural that's got the structure that's going to capture most of the fundamentals, or can you come in kind of new? If you've got a new thing and it's the only thing you got, is there edge there, or does it have to be on top of a foundation?
For me, it's on top of a foundation, but I guess it depends on if you're like, if you could come in and say, okay, the market is broadly efficient, but I think I found that this certain thing is undervalued or overvalued, or I don't think the market is fully capturing this. That's certainly one way you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not using them. I mean, I'm basically making the market.
You use the market as your foundation, basically. All right. You got your model. Yeah, your model's just getting sounder and sounder. Okay. Rufus, we'll let you go. Thank you for the time. I do want to say that Rufus is the co-host of a long-running sports betting podcast. It must be the best established sports betting podcast out there. Bet the Process with Jeff Ma. Rufus and Jeff have been doing that for a long time. They knocked around for a couple of years and then got real serious about it. It's a pretty serious show. It's a fantastic show. Strong recommend. Bet the Process. You can catch Rufus and Jeff there most weeks. Rufus Peabody, track him down, catch him anytime you can. Always entertaining. Rufus, thanks for the time. Love seeing you.
Hey, thanks so much for putting up with me and all my digressions on prediction markets.
We barely got any digressions by Rufus standards. That was a linear conversation. That was real tight. Thank you, Rufus. That is the first half of Wharton Moneyball. We will have a second half. Come back and join us after the break. Welcome back. Welcome back to Wharton Moneyball. Welcome to the second part of the show. We ran a little long with our guest, Rufus Peabody, longtime friend of the show, my collaborator on Massey Peabody for many years now. Rufus graduated almost 20 years ago. We're coming up on, I think this is 18, would be 18. Been in the industry for a long time. Informative discussion with him about prediction markets. In particular, fellas, Super Bowl 60 got set on Sunday. Unsurprisingly, the Patriots made it past a quarterback-less Denver Broncos in the blizzard. and they're going to be in their 47th Super Bowl. Did you all know the Patriots have been in 47 out of the 60 Super Bowls? It's a really high number. They are playing. Who are they playing again? The Seahawks. The Seahawks beat the Rams. The NFC West division championship that produced the Super Bowl champion here. The Seahawks are favored. Early lines holding tight at 4.5, I think. This game is in San Jose, sometimes referred to as San Francisco. Shane, God almighty. I mean, what's it like to be from New England these days?
No, I mean, I'm not actually from New England, but to have arrived there on the scene in 1999, it was very
timing
very
was
good
good,
time.
Shane. Timing was good.
Yeah. And this is probably the most unexpected of all of them. I think thus far this run. I think it's been I think they're an intriguing team because I think we could still. I don't know what you guys feel, but you can convince yourself they're not actually even that good. Wanted to, but they're in the Super Bowl, so I don't know. And I think that if anything, I think if I was setting the line, I mean, sharper minds than I do set those lines. But if I was setting the line, it would be even more substantial. I mean, just based on how good Seattle looked against the 49ers, I think they're really kind of. I mean, the only hope I guess the Patriots have is that Sam Darnold sees ghosts again or whatever. Yeah.
Well, what other reactions from the weekend? The Rams Seahawks game was tied as would be expected. Fun, could have gone either way. The Denver New England game was a lot tighter than a lot of people would have thought, and that snow added wonderful flavor to it. Peyton forewent that field goal opportunity early that sure did feel painful pretty quickly when nobody else could score. Any other observations coming out of the championship round?
How do you guys feel actually about that decision? Like, let's assume full information, like you're Sean Payton and you have the weather report. Maybe you don't know it's going to go quite that dramatically, like go to unplayable levels, but it's going to get worse. I feel like that maybe kind of. I feel like the analytics probably suggests that you should go for on 4th and 1, you should go for it there. If you can incorporate that kind of future weather, does that move the needle enough?
Weather was part of it, but also just what are you forecasting about your offense's ability and Stidham? And I think the most interesting bit is that they drove down the first drive and possession, and then the second they go down again. So they've had the ball twice. They've moved the ball really well twice, and he probably wasn't thinking I'm going to get 35 more yards for the rest of the game. That's the part that really fell out of sync with the first part of the experience. So I'm sympathetic to him in that way.
Yeah, I mean, the reaction I had at that play wasn't so much, I like the way Shane framed it. If I knew the weather report was going to be bad, I might have changed. But also, I'll go to my deathbed by saying, I don't understand that play call. And let me say why I say that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Well, maybe you're going to catch them off guard. But again, you're trusting a crucial point in the game to a quarterback that has not played in over 2 years. Why are you throwing the football there?
The play call. You mean the play? They chose
play
to pass.
Call. I don't mind going for it.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Not that call.
Yeah,
that's
agreed.
what I don't. And that's if I was Sean Payton, and that's what I put in the rundown. Did Sean Payton maybe? And I love the way you said it, Cade, because of the first 2 series. Actually, it was the 3rd series because the first series they were 3 and out, but the second and third series. Maybe he saw Stidham doing so well, he said, you know what? I'm going to trust this guy on this crucial play to throw the football. And to me, it was the right call to go for it, but not that play. And also, to me, I've said this about the previous Seattle Patriots Super Bowl too. You say something to your team when you don't think you can run the ball 1 yard on 4th down. You don't think you can do it. Because if you thought you could, you would do it. And this idea that I'm going to out-trick them, it reminded me of Pete Carroll having Russell Wilson throw the football when you got beast mode, running the goddamn ball. And I think even on the Patriot game, maybe you can correct me, Shane, that wasn't even 4th down. That might have been 1st or 2nd down. I mean,
it was in fact 2nd down, though I will note the 1st down was them handing it to beast mode and him not getting into the end zone.
I understand that, but all I'm commenting on is
tried to do exactly
It
what you
reminded me of.
We don't have to rehash that history.
No. It just reminded me of the coach trying to almost be too smart there. I liked going for it. I didn't like the play call.
And you're kind of echoing my general frustration with fourth down decisions is after the fact we analyze them, and so often we're convolving the decision to go for it or not with like a really suboptimal play call. Like, I mean, my bugaboo is always like, some kind of 4th and 3 and they're in shotgun or something like that. 4th and 1 and they're in shotgun. These types of kind of, I wish we could also observe what happens in the alternate universe where they kind of did the optimal thing, at least conditional on that.
But let's talk about something Shane said earlier.
Did a better thing.
Suppose I told you that, let's imagine they had kicked the field goal there. Okay. And let's say they have 10 points. Matter of fact, let's even imagine that was all they scored in the first half, because people are talking about the Patriots defense, and it is a good defense, but let's not make it seem great. Let's just remember, Jarrett Stidham, who hadn't thrown a pass in over 2 years, let's imagine he put up 10 points in the first half against the Patriots. That's not the 85 Bears performance. So that's my point, is that nothing. So right now, if I had to update any of
the Patriots did score 10 points in that Super Bowl.
Right. Well, but also, if you had me update any part of, after watching the 2 games, if you had me update anything, here would be my update. If I think about the 4 sides of the ball, I was disappointed in the Patriot offense. I think the Patriot offense is worse than I thought going into the game. And I think Seattle's offense is better than I thought going into the game.
I can't disagree generally, but in evaluating your evaluation of the Patriots offense, are you building in that they've faced 3 of the top 5 defenses now in their playoff run in the NFL? Because they have the Denver, Houston, and San Diego all have. I mean, San Diego's 5, LA Chargers are number 5, but those are 3 of the top 5 defenses, and as well as snow conditions. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate because I'm actually on your side on this one. It also, I also came away underwhelmed with the Patriots offensive performance. But this is kind of, the counter argument that people are making right now is they have faced some very legitimate, maybe not 85 Bears level, but strong defenses in this run and have done barely enough to win and been lucky while they've been doing that. But,
well, this is why it's fun. This is why we're going to play the game.
And I will say Seattle is another great defense. So it's not like it gets me better or anything like that.
Our friend and colleague Joe Simmons wrote over the weekend about comparing the media's reaction to Drake May versus Sam Darnold. And
the media versus who?
On May versus Darnold.
Okay.
Darnold, anytime something goes well, it's probably the receiver or the offense. But with anything goes wrong, it's like Darnold because he's a flawed guy. And then May is like this darling. And is their performance really that different? I mean, can we really make these kinds of, and do people, here's the premise, I guess, is that guys get these reputations early and that they color for years, color people's impressions. And I feel like, I don't pay enough attention to know in detail. And some people pay a lot of attention, but I love that Darnold's doing as well as he is. And I feel like he's just born through bad early experiences in a way that most don't, but I don't doubt that negative early experience is still coloring people's perceptions of him.
No, and I think it's amazing. Such a wonderful career arc for him. If they weren't playing the Patriots, I'd be probably cheering pretty hard for him, honestly, in the Super Bowl. But yeah,
that's the question, Shane. Who would you rather have as your quarterback for the Super Bowl right now, Drake May or Sam Darnold?
Good question.
Great question.
Great question. Drake May. Drake May's never seen ghosts. Sam Darnold can be had. We've seen Sam Darnold be had. He has not been had in this run. He has not been had this season. But as recently as last season's playoffs, he can be had. I'm not saying they necessarily will get him, right? But
I'm going to take the guy that's won, including the playoffs. I'm going to take the guy that's won 31 games the last 2 seasons or whatever the number is. But the only guy besides Tom Brady.
You would have taken Kurt Warner going into that first Super Bowl too, right? Come on.
Yeah, I would have.
Oh, for sure. But it's an interesting question. I like this. I'm with
easy.
Eric. I'm going Darnold as well, but I realize it's an interesting question, and
Yeah.
I am worried about next level stakes, how things go for him. All right, what else do we have around the world of sports? Why don't we give Eric a little time on the Australian Open, the first major of the 8 majors we'll see in golf and tennis. The first major is being played right now down in Australia.
Yeah, so I mean, let's ignore last night for just 1 second, or the matches that would happen. Something I put in the rundown. So in the final 8, here were the men's seeds left: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 25.
Wow.
In the women's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, and 29.
Wow.
Now, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
The amount of top seeds that are still in. Now, I will say last night, 29 got eliminated badly by one. Sabalenka beat, I forget the woman's name, the American woman that, I forget her name, but she got dusted off pretty quickly.
29.
What did it say?
She was 29th ranked.
29th ranked. 12, Svitolina destroyed Coco Gauff yesterday, actually. So 12 is in the semifinals. Matter of fact, 12 is playing one. Svitolina is playing Sabalenka in one semifinal on the women's side. On the men's side, wow. I mean, Alcaraz played brilliantly. I mean, he played the number 6 in the world, beat him 7-5, should have been 6-3 in the first set, 6-2, 6-1. And the guy's Australian, so playing on his home court. Alex de Minaur, who had, I think he was 15-1 in his last 16 matches, and got pedestrianed, if you'd like, by Alcaraz. The interesting part will be, Djokovic. So here's the question. He got defaulted into the quarterfinals, so he has only played 3 matches, not 4.
What does it mean? Got defaulted into
the guy he was going to play in the round of 16 defaulted before the match.
Okay.
He was going to play the number 16 seed who had beaten him the last time they played, by the way, Jacob Mensik.
Okay.
He didn't have to play him, so he's had 4 days rest now. His first 3 matches, the top ranked player he played was number 85 in the world. He's played 2 wild cards and an 85. He beat them all in straight sets. So he's in the quarterfinals, and he's played 9 sets of tennis so far.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be fully rested. Now, he's playing the number 6 or 5 in the world, Musetti, who I know he's 9-1 against. Now, here comes the major question. What's going to happen in the next round, potentially, when he plays Sinner? That's the magic question. He's on Sinner's side of the draw, so he'd have to get past Sinner to get to the finals.
But my question coming into this conversation was to explain to me Sinner right now. So there was this match sometime this past week where, if not for the heat regulations,
I can tell you a personal story.
So the question though that I want you to land on is, what's your assessment of Sinner's condition right now, and why is it any different than the top level it has been?
Yeah. So just so you know, it was like 105 degrees out. The reason I know that match well is because the person he was playing against is the twin brother of a guy who was on the Penn squash team. So Nick Spizzirri was number 1 and 2 for about the last 5 years on Penn squash team. His twin brother's Elliot Spizzirri, who's the one that Sinner plays.
Oh, wow.
So I was watching the match.
Yeah.
Sinner would have lost that match if they didn't close the roof and they didn't have a 10-minute break after the third set. He was cramping severely. This is something that has happened. The thing now is that they're now down to so few players. They're going to be playing all the matches in Rod Laver Arena with a shut roof because it's 110 degrees out. So it's going to be 70 degrees inside. So there's nobody on this planet more upset that they shut that roof in the middle of that match than Novak Djokovic, because he saw Sinner going out. Now his path to the finals is clear. And just to be clear, last year, not 5 years ago, he beat Alcaraz in the Australian Open in the quarterfinals. So he was thinking he's 1 inch away from potentially steamrolling into the finals against a guy he beat on this surface.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think there's any lasting. Sinner looked great in his last match. I believe, by the way, Sinner has a very intriguing match. It'll be at like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm pretty sure he's playing Ben Shelton. Now, that's no gimme a match. I mean, that's a very interesting match.
Tell us more about Ben Shelton.
Well, Ben Shelton's been rising up quickly. He was a collegiate tennis player. He's got about 140-mile-an-hour serve. And so when he wants to, if he gets it in, he'll just blow you off the court. Extremely athletic, great serve and volleyer, all-court tennis guy. A lot of people believe if there is a third player that will be joining the big two of Sinner and Alcaraz, it will be Ben Shelton.
Okay.
And so do I think he's going to beat Sinner, the two-time defending champion at the Australian Open? No. Do I think he's going to beat the guy who I don't think he's lost in maybe 30 consecutive matches on hard courts? No, I do not think he's going to. But it's not a trivial match. And so, look, it's going to come down to it's a fascinating. And by the way, do not assume that Alcaraz is making the finals. Alcaraz is playing Zverev in the other semifinal. And by the way, their career record against each other, 6-6. So this idea that it's a fait accompli, like bet the house that it's Sinner versus Alcaraz. I ain't betting the house on that. That ain't. I mean, look. Alcaraz is 6-6 against Zverev, so there's no guarantee he'll be the favorite, but not that heavy a favorite. And Sinner still has to get past Ben Shelton and probably Novak Djokovic. I'm not saying he doesn't have a 60 or 70 or 80% chance to beat them both, but it's not for sure. It's a fascinating, both the men's and the women's side is extraordinarily exciting this year.
Well, strong draw. Everyone's still in.
Really
a lot of fun.
draw.
Fun last few days here as we roll into the finals on Sunday. Why don't we wrap it there? We just lost Adi, and we've run about our full time now. So we'll wrap it there. We will come back next time, of course. Until then, thanks for Adi Wyner in absentia on behalf of Eric Bradlow and Shane Jensen, Cade Massey. Many thanks to Dion Simpkins, who makes the whole thing happen. Marissa Reyna, our producer and booker, very helpful. The big boss lady, Dee Patel. Many thanks to Dee. And to you guys for listening. Come back and join us next time. Between now and then, enjoy your sports.